shit was different and it was different fast. And then you got people calling you every day, and you got comments on the internet saying you're gonna get a RICO, and I don't even think people know how serious that is.
No, I don't think they do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit ain't nothing to play with. That shit ain't nothing to,
Right.
like, that shit serious, especially when you
When we dropped that first video, we honestly thought we had the whole situation figured out. The nightclub, the argument, the shooting, the NFL player, all of it laid out in front of us. But the truth hit different, because once that video went up, a wave of new information started coming out, and it completely shifted everything we thought we knew. Real police documents, forensic findings, witness statements the news never touched, and on top of that, people in the streets started talking about who Keion White is actually connected to, and how that changes the pressure on Lil Baby moving forward. Let me break it down clearly, because this story is no longer some small rap tension that spilled over in a nightclub. It has turned into a situation with layers and consequences from every angle. The feds are paying attention, the NFL is locked in, and now the California Bloods are watching the whole thing unfold. This is deeper than some random nightlife moment, and everybody needs to hear how wild this has gotten. So before we move further, here's the quick foundation for anyone who missed the first video. But this time I'm adding the new pieces as we go, because this is where everything gets intense. February 9th, Super Bowl weekend. San Francisco is alive with energy. The Bay Area is celebrating heavy after the 49ers game, and the streets are full of major faces. Keion White, defensive end for the 49ers, decides to host a private post-Super Bowl party and books out the entire downstairs of Dia Lounge on Mission Street. His event, his rules, his guest list. Lil Baby had a performance earlier that same night in San Francisco, and after the show, he and his crew slid over to Dia Lounge too. They stayed upstairs in the public area, packed with music, dancers, and a whole crowd. But at some point, someone in Lil Baby's entourage made a move to get into the private downstairs event where Keion White was hosting, even though they weren't invited or cleared to be there. That single decision was enough to spark the whole situation. Lil Baby's people tried forcing their way into a space that wasn't theirs, and Keion White stepped up to stop it. The argument got heated fast, so much that a witness ran upstairs to call for a manager to help calm things down. But while that witness was gone trying to get help, shots went off downstairs. Everything changed in that moment. 2 shots, according to one witness, 4 shots, according to another. And once everything went quiet, Keion White was on the floor with a bullet wound in his left leg. SFPD showed up around 4:06 in the morning, walked into the club and found the place still halfway active. People were trying to leave in a rush, music fading out, and downstairs they found White injured but still alive. That's the surface level version, but the details tucked inside the real police report are what sent this whole situation into a different category. This is where people started connecting things the mainstream outlets either missed or ignored, because the leaked report that ended up in the hands of the Standard included information that raised major questions about what really happened in that downstairs room. Here's how it breaks down. When investigators processed the scene, they located 2 shell casings on the ground. Not 1, but 2. And the part that made everybody take a step back was that one casing came from a 9mm, while the other came from a .45 caliber. 2 different guns, 2 different calibers, 2 separate sources. That means either one person had 2 weapons and switched between them, which does happen, but is extremely rare, or there were multiple shooters in that private downstairs party at 4 in the morning. To make things even stranger, investigators also found a cell phone left behind on the floor. Someone dropped their phone and ran out without it. Think about what that really means. The moment those shots went off, somebody panicked so hard that they abandoned their entire digital life at the crime scene. Every message, every saved number, every photo, every location history ping, all of it sitting there for SFPD to plug into their system and start pulling data from. If that phone belongs to anyone tied to what went down, that is a serious mistake that could impact careers, reputations, and even freedom, because phones don't lie once they're inside a courtroom. And then there's one more piece that added even more confusion. When officers located Keion White and asked him directly who shot him, he refused to give a single answer. Not one name, not one hint. He got hit, went through surgery, recovered, and still didn't say anything when police tried to get an ID on the shooter. Silence like that changes the entire tone of this situation. That detail alone says a lot, more than most people want to admit, and we're circling back to it. But first, here's the part the sports world refuses to address. The part nobody on TV wants to speak on. No cap, this needs to be said clearly because the weight behind it is serious. Keion White didn't just pop into the NFL out of nowhere. Before the combine, before the draft, before New England, before the trade to the 49ers, Keion White had a real background outside the stadium lights. Word moving through certain circles since the shooting became public is that White has deep connections to the California Bloods, and people need to understand what that actually means inside Bay Area street politics. Because this isn't LA blood culture where the structure and code follow a certain rhythm. The Bay runs its own system entirely. These are organized crews with history, structure, and a mindset passed down through years of real situations. Their code is clear. When one of theirs gets touched, the situation doesn't just fade away. There's never been a time where something like that happens, and it gets ignored as if nothing went down. What makes all of this even heavier is the fact that Keion White didn't speak to the police. Look at that through the lens of the streets. Here's a man with every resource lined up for him. NFL backing, team lawyers, professional support, everything he could possibly need if he wanted a legal solution. And he chose silence. That silence is not random. That's a message. That's someone saying he's not dealing with this through the official system. That's someone who knows his people have already been alerted and steps are already moving behind the scenes. And this is where outsiders really don't understand the Bay. California Bloods in that region have reach and patience. Their memory runs long, and they don't shrug things off just because time passes or cameras were rolling or because the person hit happens to be a recognizable athlete. If anything, the public nature of the situation, the fact it happened in a crowded space, the fact it made national headlines, the fact it caused embarrassment to someone tied to them, makes a response more expected, not less. This is the part the mainstream doesn't know how to report, but the streets understand it instantly. The streets picked up on that silence immediately, and the reaction that's been growing ever since this story came out is not forming inside any courtroom. Let's really break this down, because a lot of people still don't see how many fronts Lil Baby is being hit from at the same time. This is not one issue stacking up on his plate. This is three completely different pressures closing in from different directions. The first pressure is the federal side, and to be clear, Lil Baby has not been charged with anything. He's still free. But the federal attention that has been hovering around him for the past few years didn't vanish just because he switched his label name from 4PF to Glass Window. If anything, a situation like this happening out of state involving a shooting, his name showing up in the police report, shell casings recovered, and an abandoned phone sitting in evidence gives federal investigators something new to tug on. And when it comes to the feds, patience is their strongest weapon. They sit back, watch, collect data, and wait for the right moment. The second pressure comes from the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers had one of their players shot during Super Bowl weekend inside their own market. The league office is not brushing this aside or letting it fade quietly. Internal conversations are happening right now. Security reviews, team meetings, ownership-level discussions, all centered on how this incident occurred and what it means for their reputation. The NFL moves in a very controlled way, and anything that pulls attention in a direction they don't like becomes a serious concern. Watching how the 49ers front office handles the next few months is going to say a lot about where this situation stands. Then there's the third pressure, the one that should truly have Lil Baby thinking hard about his next move, the streets, specifically the California streets, specifically the people connected to Keion White who do not use the legal system for anything. Outsiders keep misreading Bay Area street politics, and that misunderstanding can get people hurt. Atlanta fame does not carry the same weight out west. Being Lil Baby in Atlanta means something one way. Being Lil Baby in San Francisco means you're a visiting celebrity tied to an argument that ended with someone important getting shot in the leg. Those are completely different realities, and the people around Keion White do not care about chart numbers or awards. And this is where the situation gets even more tangled. Because when you step back and look at everything from start to finish, The spark that lit this entire fuse traces back to one detail: the entourage. Lil Baby did not book Dia Lounge. He did not rent that downstairs area. He didn't organize the space or invite the people inside it. His crew walked into a city that wasn't theirs, into a nightlife environment with its own rules, and pushed their way into a private space that didn't belong to them. That one move set everything in motion, and now the fallout is reaching into places most artists never want their name connected to. The weight of this moment is bigger than music, bigger than fame, and the streets out west see every part of it clearly. Lil Baby never tried to force his way into Keion White's private party. Based on everything that has surfaced, the real spark came from the people around him. The entourage that decided being close to a major name gave them unlimited access. They moved like standing next to a celebrity meant every door in the building should open for them, like his status was a universal pass. That kind of thinking is what ended with someone getting sent into surgery. Now here's something that needs to be said clearly, because it matters. Lil Baby has been trying to clean up his environment for a while. The shift from 4PF to glass window wasn't some random marketing move. That was intentional. Stepping back from certain people he used to be around, that wasn't an accident either. He's been watching how things move around him and making small adjustments, trying to position himself smarter. And honestly, that level of awareness is something a lot of artists in his situation never show. But this incident exposed a major flaw that sits deeper than just a rebrand or cutting off a couple of individuals. You can change your label name and distance yourself from 2 or 3 people, but if the mindset of the crew stays the same, the danger stays the same. The core issue is not 1 or 2 wild personalities. The core issue is an entire culture inside the entourage that hasn't shifted at all. A culture where the name gets used like a tool to demand entry. A culture where 20 people walk into a spot thinking numbers plus fame means they don't have to respect the rules of the room. The only way forward is replacing the whole system, not just the faces, changing the whole way they move. Because right now, every space Lil Baby walks into, he's not just entering with his own reputation on the line. He's carrying the behavior of every single person walking behind him, and he can't control what he doesn't reshape. If he doesn't reset that environment from the ground up, situations like this will keep repeating in different forms. Stepping back even further, this moment doesn't exist by itself. If you've been paying attention to how federal prosecutors have been dealing with Atlanta rap the past few years, what's happening now should feel familiar. Fulton County, the same environment that built the YSL RICO case, showed the entire world how far prosecutors are willing to go when they decide to target a hip-hop circle. They used lyrics in court. They brought in people connected by culture, not just crime. They took the whole YSL network and examined it piece by piece until they had enough to take Young Thug's career and personal world apart. Lil Baby comes from the same city, the same era, the same cultural DNA as the artists caught in that wave. And prosecutors know exactly how to build those cases now. They know how to track digital life, how to interpret relationships, how to use an entourage's behavior as part of a bigger story. That's why this moment is so serious. It's not just a nightclub incident. It's the type of moment federal investigators use as a starting point whenever they want to take a deeper look at someone's world. The pressure he's under isn't random. It's structural, and it's coming from every direction at once. His name has been floating around in those federal conversations for years, and every time his name shows up in a police report, every shell casing tied to an incident, every witness statement, every blurry surveillance clip becomes another thread investigators can connect later. What a lot of people still don't grasp is that RICO cases are never built overnight. These cases grow slowly. They stack incidents, relationships, patterns, and once the picture is complete, the indictment lands out of nowhere, and the whole world acts surprised, even though the warning signs were there the entire time. And right now, the Lil Durk situation unfolding in public is the clearest example of how this process works. It should be a real wake-up call for anyone paying attention. The federal government has shown again and again that trophies and chart placements do not mean anything to them. When they decide to apply pressure, they don't hesitate and they don't lighten the impact. Here's the harsh part. If Lil Baby ends up catching any charges connected to this situation or anything branching out from it, the music industry will not lose money. His label keeps his catalog, his music keeps making revenue, His contract almost certainly has protective clauses for the label if the artist gets locked up. This industry has a long history of benefiting from the downfall of the very people they promote. So the people around him in the business world are not the ones who will tell him the truth about the danger he is facing, but the truth is right there. Let's circle back to something that still hasn't been fully unpacked. Keion White choosing not to talk to the police carries a meaning a lot of outsiders missed. This man was shot inside his own private party by someone tied to a group that pushed into his space without permission. He went through surgery, recovered, and when SFPD asked him to name the person who shot him, he chose complete silence. If you look at that from a distance, you might think he was uncertain about who pulled the trigger. You might guess his lawyers told him to stay quiet or that he didn't get a good look in the chaos. Sure, those are possible explanations. But that is not how the streets read it, and not how the culture he comes from interprets that move. In the environment Keion White comes out of, refusing to name the shooter is not fear. It's not confusion. It's a message. It's a declaration that the legal system will not be the place where this situation gets handled. It tells his people that the door is open for them to address it through their own channels, on their own timeline, with their own code guiding them. That message spread fast. And the California Bloods connected to White are not waiting for police paperwork or charges or public statements. They are not waiting for a press briefing or some formal resolution. From everything people have been saying, moves started being made the same night the shooting went down, long before the public even heard what happened. This silence is not empty. It carries weight, and the people it was meant for understood it instantly. And the real question now is what that response will look like when it finally shows itself. Where it shows itself, and how it touches everyone tied to this situation. Lil Baby and his people need to be taking that reality very seriously. What happened in San Francisco could have gone in a completely different direction. Real talk, he crossed paths with the one person who was disciplined enough and connected enough to handle things through his own channels, instead of letting the night spiral into something far worse. But luck always runs out, and the next Super Bowl is in Los Angeles. A city with its own structure and a history of handling violations in ways that never see a courtroom. So here's where this leaves things, and it's important to sit with it, because this goes beyond Lil Baby. What we're seeing right now is the cost of trying to exist in two worlds without fully choosing either one. Lil Baby is a Grammy-winning, chart-topping artist with generational potential. He has access to resources, opportunities, and platforms most people can only dream about. He could build a legacy that lasts decades. But as long as his entourage moves with a street mindset, and he moves like a global superstar, there will always be nights like February 9th. Nights where the difference between the man he's trying to become and the behavior of the people around him creates a collision he can't control and can't just walk away from. Three fronts are closing in at the same time. The federal side watching patiently, the NFL monitoring closely because their player was hurt, and California Bloods who take violations personally and do not settle them through legal systems. Any one of those pressures on its own could jeopardize a career. All three hitting at once demands immediate, serious change. Not a label rebrand, not a couple of quiet unfollows on social media. Real structural change. There is still no timeline for when Keion White returns to the field. The investigation is still active. No suspects have been publicly named. But the lack of official updates doesn't mean things are still. It means whatever resolution is forming is happening outside the public eye, in places the media can't track. If I'm Lil Baby right now, I'm not just thinking about trimming my circle. I'm asking myself the deeper question. What am I actually ready to risk? And what am I ready to walk away from before the next moment becomes a point of no return? Because the way things are moving right now, the answer to that question might get chosen for him before he ever gets the chance to choose it himself. This whole situation is shifting fast, and the outcome could land in places nobody expects. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know how you see it. Does this blow up louder or fade out behind closed doors? What do you think the next move looks like for everyone tied into this? And if you still haven't watched the first video, make sure you run that one too, because once you have the full picture, everything in this breakdown hits way different. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and share the video with someone who needs to hear what's really going on. We keep it real, we keep it sharp, and we stay focused on the truth behind the headlines. See you on the next one.